Have you ever thought about your bones like, say, a bank account? Seriously. Not as something that just gets old and brittle, but as something you're actively managing your entire life. Well, today, we're going to completely reframe how you think about bone health. So forget disease for a second, and let's think finance. Okay, let's dive into your body's very own personal bone bank. So the idea is actually super simple, but it's really powerful. Your bones are like a living, breathing account of bone mass. When you're young, you're just making deposits, building up this huge, strong principle. Then, as you get older, you naturally start making some withdrawals. The whole goal, the entire game, is to build such a massive reserve early on that you can easily cover those withdrawals for the rest of your life, without ever going into what we might call bone bankruptcy. So how does this actually play out over a lifetime? Well, take a look at this timeline. From the day you're born until you're about 30, that's your prime deposit phase. Your body is just a bone-building machine. Then, around age 30, bam, you hit your peak balance. That's the most bone mass you will ever have. Think of it as your lifetime savings peak. And then, from about 35 onward, the withdrawal phase begins. And yep, this happens to everyone. The real question is, how fast are those withdrawals happening? But what happens when those withdrawals get totally out of control? Well, that's when we have to talk about something I'm calling the Great Bone Heist, a condition you probably know as osteoporosis. It is, for all intents and purposes, a run on your bone bank. So what is it exactly? Osteoporosis is a disease that makes your bones porous and weak, almost like a sponge. But the most important and, frankly, the most dangerous word on this slide is silent. It almost never has symptoms in its early stages. You don't feel your bones getting weaker, not until a fracture happens from a tiny bump or a simple fall. So who are these thieves raiding your account? Well, some of them are just unavoidable, like natural aging and your family history. But others are culprits we can actually do something about. A huge one for women is the decline in estrogen after menopause. That just slams the accelerator on bone loss. Then you've got poor nutrition, a sedentary lifestyle, and even some medications. It's like a multi-pronged attack on your savings. And this chart, wow, it really drives home the gender gap. While osteoporosis can affect anyone, it hits women way harder. For women over 65, a staggering 1 in 4 are affected. 1 in 4. For men over 50, it's about 1 in 12. Part of the reason is that women generally have smaller, thinner bones to begin with, and that drop in estrogen after menopause is just a massive factor. Okay, so how do you even recognize a bank run before it's a full-blown crisis? You have to watch for these late-stage alarm bells, things like chronic pain in your back or hips, or noticing you're actually getting shorter, developing a stooped posture, or the big one, fracturing a bone from something that really shouldn't have caused a break. If you see these signs, your account is already in the red zone. This brings us to a really critical question. How do you check your balance before a crisis hits? How do you basically audit your own account to see just how much capital you've got left in the vault? In the past, diagnosis was pretty tricky. A standard X-ray just isn't sensitive enough to catch bone loss in its early stages. But the real leap forward is this modern method right here, broadband ultrasound. It is a total game changer. It's non-invasive, it uses zero radiation, and it gives a much, much richer picture of not just density, but the bone's actual structural quality. That lets doctors spot trouble way, way earlier. But here is the absolute key takeaway on testing. One single snapshot in time, it's not enough. Just like you check your bank statements every month, you need regular, comparable checkups. This lets your doctor track the rate of your bone loss, how fast the withdrawals are happening. And that is just as important as the current balance. All right, so let's say a checkup reveals your account is being drained a little too quickly. What can you do? This is where we talk about medical strategies to stop the heist and protect what you've got left. The medical toolkit is pretty well stocked. You've got options like calcium supplements to give your body to raw materials it needs, and estrogen therapy to slow things down after menopause. Other treatments, like calcitonin, can directly put the brakes on bone breakdown, while active vitamin D is absolutely critical for helping your body actually use the calcium you eat. But listen, this is so important. None of this is a do-it-yourself project. These are powerful interventions, and they can have side effects. The right strategy has to be tailored to you, to your specific situation, by a healthcare professional. Please, self-prescribing is not the way to go here. And now for the most empowering part. Because whether you're 25 or 65, there are things you can do right now.
So let's talk about your lifelong investment plan, the daily actions you can take to protect and even build your bone capital.
Let's start with a hard number, a goal. For postmenopausal women, the target daily calcium deposit is 1,500 milligrams. For most other adults, it's about 1,000, and for teenagers who are in that critical deposit phase, it's 1,200. This is your daily investment goal. So where do you get it? This chart makes it super simple. Of course, dairy is the obvious one, but just look at all the other options. Seafood like tiny fish where you eat the bones, dark leafy greens like kale and bok choy, and even beans and nuts like tofu and almonds are all fantastic ways to make your daily deposits. You've got to have variety. And check this out. Here's a fantastic pro tip from the source material. When you're making a bone broth or a soup, add a little splash of vinegar. The acid actually helps pull the calcium out of the bones and into the broth, which makes it way easier for your body to absorb. How simple is that? Okay, beyond diet, these 3 lifestyle investments are just non-negotiable. First, get some moderate sun. Your skin makes vitamin D from sunlight, and without vitamin D, you just can't absorb calcium properly. It's that simple. Second, regular weight-bearing exercise. Things like walking, jogging, even dancing. They literally send a signal to your body, hey, keep these bones strong. And finally, something as simple as maintaining good posture can take a ton of unnecessary stress off your spine. If there is just one message you take away from all of this, please let it be this one. It is never, ever too late to start protecting your bone capital. Every small deposit, every smart investment you make, it pays dividends for the rest of your life. I promise you that. So I'm going to leave you with this question. After everything we've talked about, just think about one simple thing you can do. Is it going to be a glass of milk? A 20-minute walk outside? Or maybe just consciously sitting up straight at your desk right now? What one deposit will you make into your bone bank today?